Welcome to TransMissions, where we talk all Hasbro, Takara, and third-party Transformers. Last weekend was TFcon Chicago 2022, and this week's episode is going to be the podcast panel that closed out the show. Darryl and Charles were our representatives on the panel, and they were joined by Diecast from Radio Free Cybertron, Mike Seibert from the Mike Seibert Radio Podcast, and Josh and Trish from More Than Meets the Ear. It was a great panel, and we hope you enjoy.
Welcome, everyone, to the Transformers Podcasters Roundtable. We're closing out TFcon Chicago 2022. Thanks for hanging out till the end of the show. I think we're it's hard to follow Colin, but we tend to do it every year. So, thanks for coming out. There's a bunch of podcasts represented up here. We all like talking into a microphone for some reason about transforming toys and plastic and everything.
Converting.
They're always transforming. I don't work for Hasbro. They're transforming toys. I am Big C, Charles, aka Big C. I am the host of the TransMissions podcast, and we do a weekly show. We do two shows every week about toys and comics and media and all the good stuff and lots of other stuff. We're at transmissionspodcast.com, so maybe I'll pass it over. Maybe I'll go to my right first.
Okay. I'm Diecast from Radio Free Cybertron. We've been around for, I think we just had our 23rd anniversary. So we're a weekly podcast. Also, you can go to tfradio.net to kind of follow us there. And thanks for coming to TFcon.
Hi, I'm Mike Seibert. I'm the host of the Mike Seibert Radio Podcast, and I think this is my first time actually crashing the long time first time, as they say in the old radio biz. I do a podcast that's Transformers adjacent. It's nobody's favorite Transformers adjacent podcast. I talk about like pop culture, movies, comics, TV, occasionally liquor. Apparently, I review food now. I don't know. It's weird, but this is my 5th TFcon, and it's a great time. I think this is going to be a really fun conversation. We've got a terrific panel. It's going to be a lot of fun. And with that, we'll go from the oldest person to the youngest person.
Well, I think I'm going to jump in before we get into our newbies. I'm going to come in and just reiterate the oldness factor here.
Yeah. Sure.
So I'm Darryl. I go by Cybertronian Beast, and I'm also on the TransMissions podcast. Like Charles, who neglected to mention that, he's not the only host.
It's just me.
There can only be one.
We've been doing our show for over 9 years now, and crossed 500 episodes a few months ago. And it's been fun. We have, like you said, two shows a week. And one's toy-centric, which is, that's mainly me. I kind of, helm that one. But, I follow Charles's hosting lead. But, I do the majority of the buying. So they default to me most of the time. But, then we got the comics show, which is Jeremy, our tech guy, and Charles, our comics guru. So they both kind of take the lead on those ones when I just kind of sit back and just kind of listen. So it's a fun show, and we really enjoy that. So now let's welcome our newbies.
My throat is in danger. So I'm Josh, and I'm one of the hosts of the More Than Meets the Ear podcast. This is a show where we talk about Transformers Cybertron.
We don't talk about Transformers Cybertron. We talk about everything else except for Transformers Cybertron.
You see what I have to deal with. And along with me is...
Hi guys, I'm Trish. I'm actually part of 2 podcasts. So I work with Josh here on More Than Meets the Ear, and I'm actually also a part of a Swerve's Bar podcast, more on their Transformers D&D side. It's a homebrew, but they also do comics reviews, and I think they do movie reviews too. I just wanted to preface, your podcast is older than me, just so you feel better.
Oh, no.
There we go.
Damn.
Figured I'd start with that.
Trish's baby.
Yeah, that's pretty much the consensus around here.
Yeah, that tracks. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're older than podcasts, so
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
That's fair.
All right. On that depressing note, so we're all here at TFcon Chicago having a great time. So I thought maybe we just go around and talk about what were the high points for the show for each of us. So maybe I'll start with Diecast on the right here.
okay. I'm just gonna come out with the elephant in the room and talk about the biggest controversy of the show being the fans model.
So this is the model kit that got shown off during the third-party panel that was mentioned to be a model kit, but never shown to be transforming.
Fantasy model. That's it.
Fantasy model.
Fantasy model, the Ultra Magnus,
Yeah.
which is
Mock? Is it Mech? Mock? Was it MEUGH? Mech? I think that's the name they're going with.
I promise you I don't know.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
missed that panel.
I
But
also did miss
it-
that panel.
It's apparently fans' toys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's fans
Maybe
toys.
fans' toys.
Definitely fans toys.
Yeah. It's not like Perfect Fusion. It's definitely fans' toys.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But we didn't think it actually transformed. And today we got an image of the trailer. So it does transform, or appears to transform. But then is it still a model kit?
I guess we're gonna have to wait until 2030 when it gets released, and then we'll talk about it more then. But
So
it
is
may
this-
be just a bunch of parts that form into it does the transformium thing, and then just busts up and then reforms, and then yeah.
Is this fans' toys basically saying like, hey, how can we cut out some of the factory assembly time?
I think
Let's
so.
just let them do it.
That's right.
It's an IKEA situation. Is that what you're saying?
Definitely. Yeah.
One of another Transmissions co-host, Jeremy, who's off camera, he's mentioned that Kabaya kits do transform too. Those are model kits, right?
Well, to say nothing about Lego Optimus also.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's another one.
That's awesome. I love the Legos.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
So that's your opening salvo.
I was just saying, wait, what's the question again? I forgot.
As the room clears. It's
Yeah, right.
Hey,
Nerds.
how many people in here like fans' toys? Okay, a couple.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
A
what was
couple.
that for?
Yeah. I would put my hand up if I could afford them most of the time. They're pretty expensive.
Yeah.
most of my friends only like fans toys.
Right?
Who in this room bought that one Fans Toys Quake Wave that was in the dealer room? All right, you're all safe.
Did you want that one?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No,
Wait, what was the
the one
question?
that got away.
All right, go ahead, Charles.
I think this is going well.
Well, for me, the high point of the show was always just seeing all the fans and seeing my friends again that I always see behind the computer screen because when we do our podcast, we're all in different cities. So when we talk to each other every week, it's just it's like a Zoom call, which people are now more familiar with after 2020. But we've been doing it, as Darryl said, for over 9 years. So it's always good to see each other in person again, and then see all our friends and see people who listen to the show and enjoy the show. It's always nice when people come up and want to say hi. That's my favorite part of TFCon is the community and hanging out with the fans. And the cosplay contest, I think this year was really
packed.
cool. It was really great seeing how enthusiastic everyone was about that. So
The kids. There were so many
yeah,
kids.
cute.
yeah,
It was so many kids. It was incredible to see the kid participation this year.
yeah. So that's the community. That's my favorite part of TFCon.
Friendship.
You're saying when you see people in person, it's like a Zoom call with alcohol? That's
No, because they closed the bar.
that's right.
Oh yeah.
So,
Not that I would know.
RIP visibility.
what about you, Mike?
Well, I don't go as far back in convention going as some of my friends here on the panel. this was my first opportunity to meet Mr. Peter Cullen. Anybody else have the opportunity to meet Mr. Cullen? I got a couple folks out there.
Oh yeah,
Very
lots. Good job.
You guys have stories, and I would like to ask you about some of your experiences. But I had the most amazing experience meeting Mr. Cullen, and he is a treasure that must be protected at all times. I was. I made some really good line buddies of folks I was hanging out with in line, and the folks that were right after me had made this like hand crocheted Optimus that's like bigger than
that was you guys.
Bigger than the RoboSyn Prime, and
it was huge.
Yes,
it was.
A small child tried to walk away
occasionally.
with it.
Oh yeah, there was a kid. He was like, "Oh, that's so cool," and his dad was like, "No, let it go." Peter was like, "You can't have that. That's mine."
But it was such a special moment that they had because like they cried and then he cried, and even though I had gone before them, I was already in my own feels because alls I did, my experience was actually shockingly brief. I think I maybe spoke to him for less than 60 seconds.
My bad.
But no, it's fine because it's all I wanted to do because, autographs are just pen on paper, but like I wanted the opportunity to shake Mr. Cullen's hand, look him in the eye, and just say, thank you. And he looks up with just like the warmest, sweetest Canadian eyes and just says, you're welcome. And my heart just melted, and it's just like, and if I had stayed even a moment longer, I would have just been a gooey mess, and it just would have been a problem. So I go off to have the ink dry on my poster, and then my new friends come up right behind me, and then the tears start. It was just, and I'm sure there were so many beautiful moments just like that. And I think that's one of the things that makes this particular TFcon Chicago 2022 one for the books and one that's special. I know I'm going to take that experience with me and keep it for a very long time. But so that's in terms of like highlights. But like the undercard, I'm here for friendship. Like you guys were already saying, it's like I've met so many people that I haven't seen since before the pandemic, and I've seen just as many folks that I have made in the digital space, Twitter, Facebook, social media, Discords, and to connect with somebody in real life that you don't, it sometimes takes a moment to realize that you haven't actually met them before. Like I shook hands and did bro hugs with folks, and it's like, wait a sec, we've never actually met in person, but those friendships are so genuine and real that, it's just celebrated friendship. It's an amazing time.
So highlights. I mean, I'm one of the Josh and I. We enjoy volunteering for TFcon. It's one of the highlights usually of our trip. It was an interesting experience this time. There were lots of ups and downs and squiggles along the way, but we had a really good time, and I got to see again some really good friends that I haven't seen, in a long time. It was nice getting to spend some time with Mr. Cullen. You probably saw us down there where we were the ones crushing your hopes and dreams. Yes, thank you. Move along. That was me. So I apologize in advance for all of that. But thank you, everybody, for being super understanding and helping that work. We couldn't have done it without your guys' cooperation.
No, you guys are doing the Lord's work. I mean, again, give it up for the volunteers that help make things so much easier because, every line needs to get moving and somebody has to do the yeoman's work. So I appreciate the work you guys do.
It's a lot of fun. This is a little bit of work and a lot of fun.
I mean, just going off of all this Peter Cullen talk, like the highlight, I think, of the show for me, and it's weird because it wasn't my story, is twofold. And both of them happened while I was working in the room with Peter Cullen. One is silly, and the other is going to break you. I'll start with the silly
Please not
one.
again. I can't do it again.
My absolute favorite line in any work of Transformers whatsoever is in the G1 episode Prime Target. And it is when Optimus Prime says, "Amazing! A booby trap that actually catches boobies." some young lady brought in a sports bra.
And it said on there, it had a picture and the text, amazing, a booby trap that actually catches boobies, and had Mr. Cullen sign it. It was hilarious. It was borderline for us. We were supposed to catch anything that he may not have wanted to sign with, but it was a technicality.
Yeah, I broke.
She wasn't wearing the bra.
No. It was clean, which is what I can say for more than some of the T-shirts that were brought for him to sign.
I've been to those kind of parties before.
All right, now the other one. Prepare your tissue boxes. There was this very sweet young lady in a wheelchair with some cosplay Starscream wings that she wanted to get Peter Cullen to sign. And she told this beautiful story about whatever her medical journey was. And apparently at some point in her history, she was very likely not going to live. And that was right around when Transformers Prime was airing. And she said she discovered that show, and through that, and very much through Cullen's portrayal of Optimus, it kind of helped give her the strength to move on. And from that, what I gathered was that after that was when she started having enough mobility to move around in a wheelchair. And so one of the things she said was, now I can roll out. Or no, it was Peter. Peter told her roll out, and she just said, I can. And everyone in the room just melted. That was one of the more touching ones. A few of them were genuinely very sad, and some of them were very happy. Peter went through a lot of emotions yesterday, and I think a lot of us, especially those of us who were there with him for longer, did as well. But it was a long day regardless. Yeah. I am so blessed to have witnessed that, because that's a memory that's going to stay with me.
Well, because I was going to say, it's like, I briefly told my story, but you folks, both of you, got to experience all of our stories.
It was a lot.
In terms of helping Mr. Cullen. And it's just like, I don't know if I can even comprehend that feeling of just taking it all in and processing it. It's, Josh, you were telling me about like some of the like first responders and military folks, and just this such wide swath. This fandom is so wide and deep, and the depth and breadth of it, and the generations and the iterations, and it's this guy, this particular person, more than anybody else, means so much to so many of us across the spectrum. It's just incredible.
Yeah, there's not really a niche, It doesn't matter where you come from, what your profession is. You'd be amazed. There's people that you would see, like we had a gentleman who's in the Marine Corps, and he's relatively high up in his command position, and you would never know, just speaking with him regularly, that he is a dedicated Transformers fan. And it's very interesting to see the people who came from all walks of life and were still that heavily impacted by Mr. Cullen.
Yeah, wow. All right, follow that up, Darryl.
Did you say the line, by the way?
I didn't. Let's talk Transformers. I really should have gone before you. Mainly my high points are always toy related, which is not a surprise to anybody who knows me. But and genuinely, this show would have had my highlight been toy related if last night hadn't happened and our journey didn't take us into a specific room, which is now the highlight of this entire con for me. And this room, I believe, there's a kid in the room. I can't really get into it, but it was adult themed.
I see a lot of kids in the room. What are you talking about?
Some at this table.
So there are kids.
We're all kids.
Yes.
Kids at heart.
But this room was much more adult themed than I ever in my wildest dreams thought what I would see here at a Transformers convention. And And yeah, that's, I mean, if you didn't have a chance to see this room or happen upon it as a thinking it's a parts party that you're just going to go in and check out some toys, which, I mean, it's technically true. But
those kind of parts.
Oh, he just got it. He just got it.
Okay, guys, stick around for TransMissions after hours after this.
Yeah, but it definitely was an interesting sight. And it was a blast. But yeah, it was that's the highlight of my weekend so far. Yeah, and and the excuses that came out of people's mouths to get out of that room was crazy. So, I mean, I just happened to get a phone call from your wife. I'm like, I gotta go. Come, yeah, my wife is calling. And Charles, that's,
Thanks for calling me out there.
we know it's BS, man. We know it's BS. So, but yeah, that is, I mean, yes, I bought a very expensive G1 toy, but that's okay. This is my highlight. Just walking around the hotel aimlessly until I found the room.
This fandom always, surprises, evolves, and transforms.
How many of those Ron Friedman panels?
We're all
working
on that for a
Transformers
while,
in our
right?
own way. We start off as little babies, and then we transform into young adults, and then we transform into old people. And I love Ron Friedman. He is a delight.
He was great. He was great too.
He was chatty today. He was feeling very well.
Well, Darryl, since you brought it up, maybe we'll start on your side now. Toy highlights. So what?
Okay, I wasn't sure where that
what
was
did you
going.
pick up? What's the awesome?
So
figure
yeah,
you picked up?
I did happen upon. I mean, I often will forget that the gentleman that runs the Artfire 2000 site will only exclusively come to the American shows. So as being Canadian, I will frequent the Canadian show every single year because it's fairly easy for me to get to. But when I get a chance to see the Artfire 2000 booth, I'm drawn to it like a magnet. And I went there and just kind of beelined for this, these Japanese exclusive figures that were in boxes that I never get to see. And I ended up buying in-box G1 Victory Leo. That was, I mean, he should have 3 missiles. And the guy said he didn't have any. And then when I opened it up, it had 1. So I'm like, I only need 1. So, I was very happy. And it's gorgeous. So I'm very happy with my purchase. And but it blew my budget. Like, the doors hadn't even opened and my budget was gone. So, I just wandered the convention for the next 2 days.
I just need to know, did anybody here stay within their budget? Or
What's a budget?
Oh, you're doing it wrong, buddy. That's cheating.
I have $3 left.
Oh, okay.
What about you guys, the new people, the newbies?
What toys we got?
Yeah, highlights,
What'd
toy
you get?
highlights.
So, almost exclusively, I only bought MMC figures. Not necessarily deliberately, it's just a matter of what I was able to find. I already mentioned I was looking for a Fans Toys Quake Wave, and somebody got to it before I did. But I picked up what? So I got 3 of them. I don't even remember what they are anymore.
Nobody knows except for you.
Oh, Deathsaurus. Deathsaurus
You
is
did
the
it,
important
yeah,
one. That's the one I was excited about. And
They had them in the room, eh? I never saw them.
I found like 120 something Cybertron Scourge because my girlfriend's sister was like, Josh, you must find me a Cybertron Scourge. I never got that one as a child. I still blame my parents for this. I'm like, okay, I'll keep my eyes open. Then I tell her about it. I'm like, I might need a couple of paydays to pay that back. And then as I'm wandering around rooms on Friday night, I see one for $65, mint in sealed box. I'm like, I already got it for you. You're fine. We got this. So she's going to be very happy when I get home.
I managed to pick up the really nice MMC Tarn. So that's a really nice figure. I picked up a couple of the Cyberverse class 2012 Transformers Prime figures, the itty bitty guys. I think they're freaking adorable. And what else? I got one other thing. Oh, I'm going to get the Jurassic Park set. I like that set. The Transformers.
Oh,
Jurassic Park.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that one's really cool. I like the redeco for the Tyrannosaurus and the redeco for the
You're
Jeep.
gonna get it? You didn't yet?
It's waiting for me. I haven't picked it up
I was gonna say convention's over, yo.
yet. Yeah,
Healer room's closed.
yeah.
Oh no, she has connections.
Yeah.
Yes. Very good. You would think, but no.
I think it's more that she's a volunteer for the show.
She's been to like Frank Tadaro's Christmas parties.
Hey,
She just knows everyone.
You just gotta
Humble
live in
brag.
California, guys. Okay. I also go to. I haven't been going to conventions for that long, but I go to a large quantity, and so you see the same people over and over again, and you're like, "Oh, you remember that time? Yeah, I do. Oh, just kind of hanging out."
Yeah. Well, you're like a accidental Transformers influencer. Like you're friends with everybody.
I don't know. I
think
I
people
don't
just
stop
like
talking.
you.
I don't know, man. Apparently there's people who know me that I don't know, and that's astounding on my end, but so I've been told, I suppose.
I love it. So I got me some toys. I didn't bring all of them as on the audio you hear me shuffling around with my backpack and stuff. Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is.
It's
And my
not
friends,
what it is.
all my friends are like,
I can see
"Stop
behind the
it.
table. It's not what he's playing.
Stop it." But no, so this is kind of like a big reveal for members of my audience. They're either like here or watching on the TransMissions live stream. I got the last of the Siege mold Sideswipe Lambo Rangers I've been looking for. I don't remember when I started collecting this mold, but somewhere along the way, I started picking up Siege Sideswipe molds. And this is the, he's what, Covert Clone Sideswipe or some such. It's the G2 deco. But he was part of like an Amazon 2-pack that wasn't hard to find up until like it clearanced out and disappeared before I even started collecting the mold, and that became very hard to find. I have now all of the Siege Sideswipe molds. So from like Siege Sideswipe all the way up through Clampdown and everything in between, including Gigawatt, who is a Sideswipe.
So how many does that bring you to?
12.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's it's a lot,
dedication.
but this guy has been eluding me for a while, and I got a really good deal on him. I'm very satisfied. So now, as one of the things we come to conventions for, this collection is now complete. I hope they don't make any more. So, what's that? Yeah. I mean, so actually, I ended up buying the whole Alpha Strike Counterforce. So I've got not Flywheels. What is his name? Slam Dance. Thank you.
I was looking for the Phantom Strike Squadron, the counter to that, because I'm a Seeker collector.
Yeah.
So I've been dying for that Skywarp, and I only saw one. It was just too much. I've been looking for one. Like they're expensive, and I get that, but this one was just exorbitant. So if you know anybody who's looking to get rid of a Phantom Strike Squadron, I'm your gal.
Yeah.
It's 12. What's your favorite one?
I like Blue Deep Cover, the Netflix one, because like I don't really care about Sideswipe as a character, but I love fiddling with this mold. Sure, of course, yeah, definitely. But I like the colors on it, and with the Blue Deep Cover, I'm a sucker for that shade of blue. And the color combination of like the blue, black, and gray with the flash of silver in the battle damage, that's like the only figure of any of that WFC line where he actually wears the battle damage well, because like the silver kind of like cuts across the front of his hood, and it just looks like the paint is skimmed off. It's a really cool effect. And also have a special place for it because it's the first one I got and actually kind of kicked off all this nonsense. So yeah, I guess I gotta give a shout out to my buddy Nemesis Slime for saying like, hey man, I see it here in the store. I know you like it. Do you want it? I'm like, sure, yeah, whatever. He gifts it to me, and now I got like so many Pokemon, I gotta catch them all. And but it got me thinking. I was inspired by a purchase that Jeremy had made earlier. He's just got off camera, but he got a reissue Stepper, and I love that Transformers Collection storybook box thing, and I've got so many side swipes. I had to get I found myself a reissue, like literally on my last leg around the floor. So now I actually have a relatively minty G1 sideswipe to go with my more contemporary sideswipe. So it's all sideswipe all the time.
And you don't even like sideswipe.
No. Again, Sunstreaker's better, and yeah, I just don't care. I mean, it's like, give me my rocket pack now. But yeah, no. Oh yeah, and I got myself a kitty ears Soundwave pin from Plushie. I had to get that.
You want to talk pins, buddy?
I'm all about that soft Soundwave content, yo.
Well, for me, it wasn't a big toy show this year for me, but I did this afternoon. I was wandering around and I did see a little known figure known as Straxus. Anybody heard of Straxus?
Yeah, buddy.
So there was So this was actually Transformers United Straxus. So I picked this one up. It was $45, and then I was walking around and I saw it somewhere else for $75. So I was pretty happy. I felt like I got a little bit of a deal, maybe, but I was willing to pay it. But I picked it up, and I'm a big fan of the comics. So having a character from back in the '80s in the Marvel comics was he's a maybe if I get to a show and Bob Budiansky is there, I'll have him sign that one too. So
He might be in LA. He goes to the LA one.
Okay, well. I don't know if I'll get out to that one, but that's definitely something to keep in mind.
Got Orlando coming up.
Ooh,
Yeah.
That one will be fun.
Yeah. I mean, folks that are
I'm
watching at home on the live
I'm pretty
stream
much contracted
weren't here in the
now.
room
Like, just
when
to come to
Colin
all
and
of them,
gang
regardless of
announced
what I do.
TFcon Orlando.
Oh, it's on
Yes.
Twitter right now.
Oh yeah. So
I would say at the very least, because I tweeted. I was hoping that somebody got a pic of like the first time they showed the graphic, because I was going to retweet it, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, come on. And then finally they put up the graphic again. I'm like, okay, fine. I immediately texted Ant. I'm like, my friend. So,
awesome. Yeah. All right, Diecast.
All right, so I didn't expect to buy that much because a lot of times when I come to these conventions, I just like to see what's out, see them on display, and kind of plan my purchases, especially with like the test shots and all that stuff. So I'm planning for future when I come to these things just to see what I like. But I always get some exclusives. So I got the Delta Magnus. I got the Steeljaw, which is the one I knew coming to the show that I wanted, which is amazing. Then I saw the Sunstorm Seeker mold from Make Toys at TF Source. And because I got Sunstorm, I had to get the other two. Yeah, so I got the purple and the blue one as well. And then today, when I went to the RoboSyn booth, I've always eyed that Optimus Prime.
Oh no.
And they have a base that they're going to be releasing that they showed today at the table.
It's not officially announced yet.
It's not official yet, so
Not supposed to talk
get
about
those
it.
exclusives, yo.
So don't tell anyone else.
But it may or may not work with Alexa, and that was kind of like the additional thing to like, I need that Optimus Prime now. So TF Source had a sale on it on their website, which is like $7.99, and RoboSyn also said that once that collector's one is done, because now they're releasing a one that's a little bit smaller. So the bigger one is the collector's one, and once that's done, they're not making anymore. So I knew I had to like pull the trigger now and get one before I'm not able to get it. But so that was a big show purchase. But thankfully I was able to buy it online, even though I consider it a show purchase because it would have been hard to take on the plane to get home. So it just worked out better with shipping that I'm sending it home.
Who here has a RoboSyn? Anybody have a RoboSyn? You guys like them?
I have a fundamental problem with it. I mean, it's the fact that I can't display it in robot mode without it being on is a big problem for me.
Well, how about if you get a stand?
The stand will solve that, yes.
Yeah.
But then it also creates a very, very large footprint for it. So yeah, the Alexa thing is a big plus, but I'm not going to constantly talk to it. So
what is the reason that it can't stay in robot mode?
it's because it's the servos, which are 60 servos, I think you said,
Something like that.
right? They all need power all the time.
So when it's on in robot mode, it's always moving. So it'll just breathe like this, and then if you turn it off, it just goes.
Yeah, it just
So you have to
falls
catch
over.
it.
Yeah. So
Just like all of us, we got to
Yeah, right. Yeah.
yeah.
It's truly sentient.
I had friends in line that I met at this convention who were kind of talking me into the RoboSyn. So
I actually wasn't.
You guys are pushers.
I wasn't intending to get one, but I was at San Diego Comic-Con this year. I actually volunteered for that, and Hasbro was running trivia at their booth, and it was free to compete in the trivia. And the grand prize for winning was a RoboSyn signed by Peter Cullen.
Oh,
So I happened to be one of the people who won.
Wow.
The signed RoboSyn.
Wow.
So-
humble brag. Jeez.
So because otherwise it was just out of my price range. So it was super exciting to get to have the RoboSyn and get to play with it and everything, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. I'm really glad I have a RoboSyn now.
Yeah. Well, I'm
So
work.
what character are you guys hoping that RoboSyn is going to come out with next year?
I heard they did that little voice trailer that made it sound like they were going to do a Bumblebee.
Cool.
But that would be
I don't know.
I think it'd be fun to have.
we
a
pushed them
Megatron to
on
rival
it.
the
We pushed them on it
Optimus.
today, and they were given no hints at all. But
Sunstreaker would be
it
I mean, so
yes, a transforming jet that is on a stand and it could transform on the stand would be amazing.
Well, what would be cool is if they released a Megatron and you could link them up so they could have choreographed battles.
Yeah.
Oh my
That would
gosh.
be really cool. So that the input was going to both of them at the same time. So Optimus would throw a punch and Megatron would go back like this or something like that. I think that'd be a lot of fun to do.
Because exactly what the world needs right now is like a super smart AI robot that turns into a gun.
well, it won't. It'll be a
Upside down
tank.
submarine.
Ah.
Upside down submarine.
It's a submarine. It's not a gun.
Well, I mean, we had seen the prototype before the RoboSyn Optimus Prime was announced. The prototypes had been floating around online, and we had talked about them on our podcast. And we had seen there was another one that was
a couple years before.
yeah, it was a couple years ago, and
That's
there was a
right.
Constructicon. There was it
was
looked
a
like
scrapper.
it was a scrapper backhoe that did the same thing. So I mean, they already have the design out there. I mean,
So a fully combining sentient robotic
the
devastator.
devastator that
Oh my
combines on its own and stands up.
Now that's more of a problem.
That would be
than- than
$10,000.
guns, yeah.
insane.
That would be like police equipment. Devastator. Merch for the kill. Knock the door down.
Tackle, go.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Sometimes.
So, I mean, we could move into we often in these panels we'll often take some questions from the audience as well. Like if anybody's got some
Hey,
questions.
there's a microphone
There is a
right there in the
microphone
middle.
right there. If
and
anybody.
we do often we'll answer podcast related questions. You guys want to ask us anything specific about the show itself? We can like what we've done here at the show or our show specifically. If anyone's got any of those, but we'll just come up to the mic if you want. We'll just continue BSing up here. If anyone's got anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about existential dread and ennui as much as the day is long, but I don't know if that's what we want to talk about.
I mean, I'm just curious for a show of hands, how many are planning to go to either LA or Orlando?
I'm planning on both.
That's why I have two hands.
Oh, we're doing two hands up. Okay. There we go. We got one in the back.
When is LA?
March
March.
11th and 12th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be at the Burbank Hotel, the same one they did it at last time, earlier this year. It was a lot of fun. I highly recommend going if you're going to go to a con because all of the actors live out there and all of the writers live out there. So it's a 10-minute drive or a 20-minute drive as opposed to flying 4 hours across the country. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had quite the turnout. Here there were 4 guests plus Peter Cullen. I think in LA earlier this year, we had like 30 guests.
No,
had to
that
run
was just
them
the
in
War for
shifts.
Cybertron.
Oh,
panel.
that was just the War for Cybertron panel. Okay, no, there were like 40 guests.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question to everyone here. Like, how did you guys feel about the attendance at this one? Because this felt like, I mean, I went to we went to TFcon Toronto a few months ago, and it was still kind of it was good, but it did not feel like super crowded. And this one, it felt like we're post pandemic at this point. Everyone's back. Everyone is here and hanging out, and it felt full. So. I mean, of course, there on the flip side, there's a little bit of anxiety there because if you're not used to the crowds coming back, I wore a mask the whole time walking around the show just for
2 months we may not feel post-pandemic.
I think genuinely, because today's crowd was very much what we typically see at a TFCon, and even LA was very busy, but I genuinely think it was Peter Cullen's attendance that just. And because most of the people I saw, even the people who came through Peter Cullen's line yesterday, they had on those purple Saturday only wristbands, was most of who I saw yesterday, especially the people who aren't typically a part of the usual, TFCon attendance. I had people coming through the line yesterday that were like, oh, I've only ever seen, the Bayverse movies. You don't get a lot of those people at TFCon because it's a generally, inclusive Transformers convention. If they've seen the movies, they're more likely to go to a typical Comic-Con than a Transformer-centric Comic-Con or convention. Mm-hmm. So I think it really was Peter Cullen's attendance because today, usually at TFCon, the Saturday to Sunday ratio is very similar. It's different, but it's not vastly different. And yesterday's attendance to today's attendance was vastly different. And the only thing that changed was Peter Cullen was here yesterday and not today.
I mean, I didn't look at any of the lines. I didn't get to go down and see where Peter Cullen
you
was or
didn't
anything.
Want to.
No.
Trust me. Trust me.
But I was in the room where David Kaye was, had a lineup going on, and his lineup was insane, right? So he was, as Peter Cullen was a huge draw, as he should be, David Kaye is no slouch.
Right.
He was in LA too, and he had a long line the entire con.
Yeah.
I know it's like they set that up for me or something. I thought I was going to stand out there.
Well, great. We got a question from Alpha Magnus.
So it's not even a question. It's more of a hypothetical. I was talking with someone out there, and we randomly came up with this. You know how James Earl Jones just retired?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think the possibilities of Peter Cullen getting the same treatment?
That's a great question.
I think eventually, but not in the near future. That role is far too near and dear to his heart. And if you got to see Peter Cullen this weekend,
saying,
it's very genuinely a huge part of his life.
A sunsetting of it, let's just do this. Let's not, because every time that anyone else plays it, and mind you, I'm looking forward to Alan Tudyk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way more than I should be. Because that guy's in everything, and thanks to that, I'm now making an Alan Tudyk toy collection. So I have to buy
So you got a little hey plushie, right?
I got to buy a whole bunch of stupid
Okay.
ones. Yeah. And anyway, that was the question. Do you think that would be a good thing, or is that just going to perpetuate him forever?
I think Peter Cullen will do it as long as he's physically able.
Yeah. Well, that's what James Earl Jones did.
Yeah.
He just hit the point where he's like, this ain't gonna last forever, guys. Let's do this.
Jumping off that, I think Peter Cullen will do it as long as he is invited to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason we don't see him so much or rather hear him so much anymore, is that whatever projects are being produced are, for example, with the Netflix one, they're going with voice actors that are not that are using
non-union. Careful.
Yeah. This is why it takes so long for us to release episodes, because I can't talk, so I just have to spend all my time editing it to make it sound like I can talk.
He still can't talk.
This is true.
So to springboard off that, do you guys want to see more shows without Optimus at all? Because at a certain point you gotta.
I think yes, there's a chance for new generation Transformers, but I'm still comfortable with the idea of doing an Optimus Prime as long as they make it their own, right? I'm happy seeing, all of us love Optimus as Peter Cullen,
Sure.
But Optimus is a central part of the story, and if they want to continue telling it with the characters that we know and love, eventually getting a different actor as Optimus is going to have to be an option. But make it your own performance. Don't try and springboard off of Peter Cullen when that's not something you can physically do.
I kind of want Transformers What If.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
I think that would be great. And to say nothing about the ethical implications of like AI voice stuff and what rights you have to your likeness, like that announcement about the James Earl Jones thing kind of made me weirdly uncomfortable. And so like in a sense, it's like I think once Mr. Cullen is done, that iteration is done. Now we're all crass and cynical, and I'm sure there will continue to be a host of imitators with continuing diminishing returns. But I like the perspective of new people with new takes and stories that don't even involve Optimus. Like, like you were saying, kind of like a Transformers What If type of thing. The Transformers universe is so vast. I mean, it's like, one of like our most beloved comics is and More Than Meets the Eye.
Or we can go to Caminus. There's options.
And there's so many folks that aren't the main cast, like, whoever like your main 7 is, whether it be Optimus, Megatron, Soundwave, Bumblebee, however far you want to go to that, there's such a deep cast that you kind of don't need those folks. Like they can be on Mount Rushmore by themselves and just, you can tell compelling, interesting stories without those characters.
With regards to Stan,
Avengers.
With regards to Peter Cullen as the person, I think he will move into. I've always felt this as I've met him a while ago, and I always felt like he should move into more of a Stan Lee role in Transformers, where he's a figurehead, where he's not generally used, but
almost
seen.
Like a mascot.
He's seen everywhere. He's a human mascot if he wants that role. He goes to the conventions. He signs everyone's stuff, and then he's there. He does his, he waves his hand. He shakes the hands and waves and talks and tells his stories, and then he goes home with his big check, right? And that's and that's it. And he does that until he's ready to call it quits. Whether he can go and do the stuff in the video or the voice booth or not is beside the point. But if he wants to, Transformers is always going to be his home, and he can come to a Transformers convention and get a big check forever.
Well, I think even when he cannot really extend and maintain the voice for long periods of time, he'll still come and be with the fans because he does genuinely enjoy seeing his fans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hello. So my question is, since I know some of you guys have purchased their exclusives, do you plan on opening them, or do you plan on just keeping them yourself? Because I bought the Delta Magnus. And I was just playing with it. And I know it's an expensive figure, but I'm having a blast with it.
I love it.
Diecast. That's for you, buddy.
We're gonna box collector Civil War. I love it.
I'm probably gonna leave Delta Magnus in the box for a little bit just to see, like, it. I'm out of display space right now, also, so I have to kind of rearrange my setup and see what fits in and what doesn't. So I don't want to open anything now till I get that kind of straightened out. But all the other exclusives, I plan on opening right away.
So you're talking about the exclusive for this convention,
Yes.
right? Okay, because there was a Delta Magnus exclusive in 2019, which was a blue Optimus redeco. This one's the God Delta.
I meant the God Delta. That's what I meant. I'm sorry.
I was like, wait, which one is it?
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, the God Delta. That's what I meant. Yeah,
God Delta,
I have the God Delta. It's a really good figure.
Yeah.
Cool.
So do we run it? I'm not a huge third party guy. So do we run into box collectors?
Yes.
Do people just have them in boxes sealed and don't open them?
Me.
That's
Down here.
madness.
Down here. Yeah, I do.
Release them from their plastic prison.
Madness.
So sometimes it happens to us and we don't choose to, but it just we don't have time to play with stuff, and we buy them intending to play with them, but never get around to opening them.
I've got the.
I might be talking about myself.
the Mastermind Creations Death's Head at home. I've never opened it. It's just sitting there.
Why?
It got brought home and put on a shelf because I really like the way it looked. Plus, it's got a window box. You open it up and you can see it. Right?
That was going to be my next question because, as Hasbro is going more towards windowless boxes, me as a box collector, I'm facing an existential crisis.
Sure.
Like my Studio Series 86 array is all jacked up now. It's like I've got like giant windows, I've got tiny windows with no plastic. Now I'm going to get like windowless boxes. It's just going to be a nightmare.
Pretty tough.
Anytime I post about that, folks say, well, open up your toys and play with them. They're toys. So I do like I collect a lot of Star Wars Black Series. I collect a lot of G.I. Joe Classified Series. So I can snip that little teeny thin band of tape and pull it out and play with it and then put it back in the box and display it. So a lot of third-party stuff I see is just windowless boxes, like Takara Masterpiece stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can't fathom the perspective of just putting a box that's literally a box with a picture of art on your shelf.
Well,
That's just me.
a lot of that is because in Asia, if you go into a toy store, if you can see the toy, it's perceived as being for children. If it's a box with art, it's perceived as being for an adult. So that's why a lot of the third party actually has, fully closed boxes, is because it's meant for adults. Even like, I think like MMC or what, the ones that were doing the window boxes, they would actually do a window box for the US market, and over in Asian market, they would actually do a closed box.
God.
The more you know.
And again, I got nothing against boxes. I mean, like especially like MMC, that box art is just gorgeous and beautiful and terrific pieces. But yeah, it's like, yeah, play with your toys.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're Super 7 and they're mint on card and you can't like. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Question.
You have a
You have a question.
Get me out of this ditch
We
I've got
talk a
myself
lot. Go
into.
ahead.
It's okay. I don't know when to shut up either. All right. This is less of a question, but more of an idea that I'm just piggybacking off your what if Transformers idea, which in this case I see more as a Star Wars Clone Wars idea rather than what if. But this is typically a more interesting case. We really haven't scratched the surface on Transformers, on the Transformers franchise, especially on the Exodus from Cybertron. Sure. We've only seen the fact that the Autobots and Decepticons take their fight to Earth, but that's in one fraction of the entire military. I mean, they scattered across the entire universe. That's a nice idea.
And I'll tell anybody who listens that I think we need at least a series or a movie realization of the aligned continuity novels. So Transformers Exodus and Exiles, where we go to different planets and we see them interact with different civilizations and what the war does to those planets. That we see that in those novels, but they're not. A lot of people haven't read them. They're incredible books. Like, not only are they cool Transformers novels, but they're amazingly written by very, very talented authors. So go read them. And yeah, I think we should have more media based strictly on, without humans. What is it like not on Earth, right?
What's it not like on Earth? Exactly. It's like there are other planets, and trust me, it gets worse.
Right.
Yeah, I agree that would be great to explore. I mean, on the plane ride over here, I watched Buzz Lightyear, which was actually
It was actually really cute.
decent movie. And that was, kind of the whole, like, they were exploring, but they got stranded on the planet, and then, they basically colonized and made a life there. And I think that's a great idea for another Transformers, story or something, to where you have these, new characters, new everything, just something brand new, and colonize a planet after they left Cybertron or something. I think that would really work.
Yeah.
Right on.
Well, thank you very much. Also, if anyone, I don't even care if anyone's in here as a writer for a TV show, make that idea happen. That's a golden opportunity.
Yeah, great question.
Yeah.
So let me throw some kerosene on this fire over here. How do we feel about squishy humans in Transformers? Are we human? Yes. Are we humans? No. I've had a lot of discussions with a lot of my friends recently. I got a thumbs down, double thumbs down. I got a shaky wavy hand over there. I got a thumbs down. But with Earthspark being imminent, it really kind of brings back up to the forefront the debate of whether we need humans in Transformers or not. And yeah, I was kind of wonder what the temperature was.
If I can just that's one of my hobby horses is for the at least for the Bay movies is that I don't have a problem with humans being there, but humans should not be the main characters.
Absolutely.
It's the Transformers are the main characters. They should be the stars of the show. The humans can be the side characters. I mean, they're there. I mean, I think having the human presence gives you a sense of the Transformer scale and how you can relate to how they're relating to people. But it's the Transformers. It's their story. It's not Mark Wahlberg's story. It's not Shia LaBeouf's story. It's Optimus Prime's story. It's Bumblebee's story. It's Starscream's story. It's Megatron's story. I think you should have the Decepticons should be as much narratively driving the story as the Autobots.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah. I mean, Autobots good, Decepticons bad, sure. But I mean, I think we've had lots of Transformer stories that have gotten beyond that and more complex, where you get into the Decepticons as much as you get into the Autobots. I think all of that should be front, and I that's why I'm actually excited about Earthspark, because I see some of the previews of Earthspark. You see Megatron and Optimus working together, and there's a question like what's going on, and why are some of the Decepticons calling Megatron a traitor? That's something that we haven't. I mean, we saw a little bit of in the IDW comics. We haven't seen that before in visual media there, so I'm looking forward to that.
I mean, definitely with kids, they need to, if it's a TV show primarily for kids, they need to have humans and adults and kid characters in it, because it humanizes the Transformers, and it makes the kids be able to relate to it a lot more. But if you were going to an adult style, or even the big screen, the movies, stuff like that, it's less of a need, and less of a need to more prominently display them, like Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, and I mean, I think when we first see Transformers, it is targeted towards kids. So we see that human element that's necessary to create a narrative that people can relate to and kids can relate to. And we've seen a couple shows that have branched off of that. Cyberverse had pretty much no human interaction, and then Transformers Prime started with the humans as side characters, and then branched. I mean, you hardly see the humans at all in season 2 or 3. Right. So there are pieces of media that have done it well.
And I'm gonna sort of branch off these concepts and really dig into what the issue with humans in Transformers is, because the issue isn't humans. The issue is the writing and the characters, because a lot of Transformers cartoons just throw human children into the story and do little or nothing to justify why human children are involved in this giant robot civil war. And you have something like the show we talk about is Transformers Cybertron, where the dub tries to make them have a reason to be there by saying the kids, only human children can hear the Omega frequency, which is completely an invention of the English dub. In Japan, they're just there with no explanation. And
I was wondering how long it was going to take you to start talking about Cybertron, but to be fair, it took me less time to start talking about Prime.
And we have something like Prime, where the kids are involved because they just happened upon the Transformers, and the Autobots are taking them into custody to protect them from Decepticons who might go after them. And they just kind of stick around, as an intro.
I would too.
Yeah. It makes sense why the kids would want to stick around. It doesn't make sense how the Autobots would let them stick around once they make it clear that the humans are not really in danger. And in fact,
then they are.
Later on, they become in danger because they stuck around with the Autobots so long, and then the Decepticons are able to use the humans to track down where the Autobots are, blah, 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 blah.
Dang, now you're talking about Prime.
Yes, I am. But the thing is, we can have good, interesting human characters, or we can have, as you're talking about over there with appealing to children, because Transformers frequently, especially in animation, is a kid's show. We have Beast Wars, where there are no humans. We have instead within the Transformers cast, we get our relatable human characters. We get the different generations, like with Cheetor as the Kid Appeal character. Say what you will about whether Cheetor is a character who people like or not, he fills that role and he fills it well. He does what the story is trying to get him to do. I would venture to guess that most children watching the show liked Cheetor, and most adults watching the show probably didn't as much. And that's just sort of...
You still going?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've made the point, and I just don't really have a conclusion to the point.
Got it.
Got you.
This poor
We got
gentleman's
you.
been standing
We
here.
got- yeah, he's got an awesome
yeah.
shirt. I love that shirt.
Yes?
So how well does Sideswipe sit in that chair?
Poorly. He's not an athlete, but he needs an athletic supporter. What most deluxes fit on Starscream's throne just fine, but what the deal is with the Sideswipe mold is he's got the louvers on the back of his legs there, so he ends up just kind of sliding off. And
Are you saying he has fat legs?
No, that's
it's like
weird.
a kid sitting in a big boy's chair.
He's got some serious cankles, unfortunately, because he'll just kind of slip right off.
You got nice thick calves.
Yes. There you go. So,
I can't even make a joke about
I mean,
that.
I was futzing around with it, but I realized I was making too much noise. But like, I got him for a couple of photos I took earlier, where like he can, if I extend his legs out just right, and then say a little prayer, and then there he goes. It happened. Nobody breathe.
What about this Megatron? Is it old form? What do you got?
Oh, you can't ask him to transform
I
that right
didn't know
now.
it was bring
Yeah.
a toy to the podcast day.
Yeah, well, this was my purchase at the very end, walking around the dealer room, and I got this for $25. And the reason I wanted it was to display it in gun mode. Because, I mean, obviously that's not a thing that, Hasbro is willing to do anymore. So these gun transformers are getting rarer and rarer. So it's just a nice little, display piece for my shelf that I need to redo. Oh yeah. This is the classics, based on the classics, but in the U.S. they did it as like almost like a Nerf style gun.
So that's the hanger purple.
Just to get it through, and be able to be sold on the U.S. But in the Asian market, they actually did, a little bit more traditional Megatron colors. So if you have a chance, if you ever see the U.S. version, I think it's definitely worth picking up. This is a great Megatron, and the Nerf colors actually work for it. But I've always wanted one of the imported ones that I could display just because of the rarity. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the
I think it's called
Maverick.
the
I have
Maverick,
I have
yeah.
a couple of them.
Yeah.
Actually, so.
Speaking of gun transformers, there was some guy in one of the rooms last night, and I think he had it on the dealer room floor as well. He had a stock of these Japanese water pistols.
Oh.
That are just Megatron's gun mode. Like,
And you didn't tell me about them?
I thought I said...
No, you didn't.
They were like
I have a video.
$175.
Yes.
Okay,
They-
okay. I don't feel as bad now.
Yeah, they're very expensive, and they're super, super illegal in the U.S.
Yeah.
Because they look just like a real gun. You can point it at someone and just squirt them.
Yeah,
The water gun's illegal, but the real guns are legal?
Welcome to America, my friend.
Technically,
What?
I have to just put an orange cap on the end, but
I think we're at about time, unfortunately, because we've had such a good discussion. But I think we're running a little late. So why don't we just wrap up by giving everyone gets a plug in for their podcast, and then we'll close out TFcon Chicago 2022. So maybe 23 years in Diecast. That's maybe we should start with you.
I'll go. Yeah.
Seniority leads.
Seniority. Thanks to Brian Kilby, because
Age before beauty.
I've only been doing this about 10 years with Brian Kilby, so
There was a version where you were like the young guy on
Yeah.
Radio Free Cybertron. And
I was the young guy, and now I'm in my 40s. So,
he used to be Baby Spice. Now he's just Old Spice.
but yeah, you can check out our podcast, tfradio.net. And then we're live every Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern time on YouTube. So you just search Radio Free Cybertron on YouTube. And pre-show starts at like 8 o'clock, where we talk about they talk about usually about Star Trek, and I get left out. But
Go ahead, Mike.
You can follow my podcast, Mike Seibert Radio, on pretty much every platform you get podcasts. You can follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm at Mike Seibert Radio. The spelling on my name is Seibert, just the way it sounds. I also have a separate Twitter account for my friend Starscream's Throne. That is at ScreamerChair86, where I do stuff like this, where I put things in Starscream's Throne, and it's a lot of fun. Thanks for coming out, and thanks for having me. Oh, make good choices just in case I don't get to say it later.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so like I said, Josh is, we do More Than Meets the Ear, so I believe that's pretty much More Than Meets the Ear podcast on everything except Twitter, which is MTMT Ear.
Yeah, on Twitter, we're at MTMT Ear. Spotify, More Than Meets the Ear, and various others. We're either MTMT Ear podcast or just MTMT Ear, but you can definitely find the Twitter where I post utter nonsense.
Yeah, and then I'm also with the Swerves Bar podcast. I believe that's at Swerves Bar Podcast. I don't interact with that handle that much. I'm not, this one I have Twitter access, but the other one I don't. And then we also do I think it's called Transformer. It's a homebrew Transformers D&D. It's a lot of fun. I think that one's on Spotify and YouTube. And then you can find me pretty much everywhere at A Rogue Trish.
How can you be at a bar? You're too young for that.
You know what? It's a bar on a different planet. They have different rules over there.
Darryl, you want to rep Transmissions at the end?
Transmissions podcast at TRNS Missions, because we couldn't get the one with the A. I think it was like a transmission shop that had it. So, so transmissionspodcast.com. We have the website. So
with the A that has the A there.
Yep. We're on Facebook. Instagram. Does that still get used? Does somebody post on Instagram for us still?
We still have the password. Yeah.
Okay. We post on YouTube now. So our at our 500th episode, we went completely video. So we are a fully video podcast now, and that's been fun. But you can find me on Twitter as well at Cybertron Beast, and I just post. I post pictures of Transformers and comics. I buy a lot of comic books too. So not just Transformers. I do a bunch of other crazy crap. And every now and then I post pictures of my kids because I'm an old bugger too.
You guys are also all guests on childrenofprimus.com, which is our podcast that was being live.
Awesome.
So we just plugged you.
There you go.
For our 3 viewers. Thank you for this panel. And anybody wants to check us out, we stream every Sunday night. So we're going to stream tonight. childrenofprimus.com or on YouTube and everywhere else.
Awesome.
All right, cool. You should have talked to us before the show started. You could have been up here.
Yeah.
I had fun doing this.
And
Notice I got my question.
Yeah. That was my deal too. It's like I used to be a heckler, and these guys would be like, "Come on up." I'm like, no. But this time I was like, "No, I'm gonna crash." But I like that seat. I think that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
And I'm Charles, aka Big C, and I also I have a Twitter too. I don't use it that often. It's at CP Shelton. Also want to mention we do a live play RPG podcast as well, Empire of Rust. That's an awesome Transformers role-playing game podcast that's run by our editor and producer Mike Ordway, who he was at Baltimore. He's not here today, but he definitely want to give him a shout out. He did a lot of work and continues to do a lot of work for Transmissions, and also his awesome RPG podcast is doing a great job. He used to use the tagline, he's the first and only Transformers RPG podcast. Well, can't use that anymore because so it's great that we've got more Transformers RPG podcasts out. That's awesome. So maybe there'll be a crossover in the future. Well, I'm putting it out there. I'm putting the energy out there in the universe, and see if we can make that happen in the future. But thanks everyone, and thanks to everyone here who
for coming to TFcon.
hung out at to the bitter end of TFcon Chicago 2022. Thanks
for really making the use of your ticket.
Yeah, right.
And we'll
let's do it.
Right? Yeah. the ceremonial lifting of the wristbands.
That was easy this year.
Yeah.
I still gotta get back to the dealer room. Somebody's not coming.
And we'll see everyone at the next show.
I'll see all y'all in LA. So
Yeah.
This won't get you into the deal.
Or on the
no,
internet.
I give you.